I would invite now Ms. Irene Rosberg, who's a Program Director, Executive MBA in Shipping and Logistics, Copenhagen Business School. She will speak about food security and logistics. And after that, I will propose you to go through the list with the people who wanted to take the floor and who still want to take the floor. And you have two options. One option is to come here on the stage, and the other option is to use one of the two mics in the plenary session. We have cameras from the top and from the sides, and you decide how you want to speak if you do not feel comfortable here or you feel more comfortable there. Please.
Thank you very much indeed. I am very humbled to be in this very distinguished company. So, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I normally talk about this topic about 3 hours, but I'm just going to condense it in 10 minutes and even been asked to even shorten it, and I will do my best to do that. Now, talking about food security, let's first define what is food security. Food security is defined as all the people having physical, social, and economical access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food to maintain a healthy and active life. Now, the common aspect is that food has to undergo certain processes. And there are different stages, including production, processing, transportation, storage, and consumption. Now, all these processes are then considered the logistics of food. In academic literature, we refer to that as the stages of the value chain. It's common belief that hunger is caused by lack of food, which is this, actually in a lot of situations this is not true. This is not the case. Africa, Asia, and even in the US and Europe, there are nearly 800 million hungry people because food is mainly out of reach. It's not that there is lack of food, but the food is out of reach. And therefore, the actual problem is about the distribution of food to all the people that they need it. Researchers from the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations has shown that around 50% of the food is wasted in distribution. And it is therefore understood that logistics and transportation management has an essential role in ensuring food security. Now, before Russia's invasion of Ukraine, we also had other situations, the man-made problems, which really made the cost of the food went up, and we started with the crisis. We had also then the climate situation. We had the COVID. All these are the elements which really added to the increase of the prices. And they had the devastating consequences for the low-income countries and developing countries. Now, Ukraine, which is supposed to be considered the breadbasket of the world, has deepened these crises to a whole different level. I know that I'm preaching probably to the converted when I'm saying that the global food markets are extremely concentrated. To solve the problem is that we have to look at this concentration of the food markets. They are both concentrated, both in terms of supplies and also in terms of reserves. 7 countries are making 86% of the wheat exports, while 3 countries hold 68% of the world's wheat reserves. These figures are similar when it comes not only to the wheat, but also comes to the coarse grain, to corn, to rice, to soya beans. And Russia and Ukraine supplied about 30% of the world's wheat and before the war. And of course, you can imagine what is the consequences today. Such concentrations and thin markets means that when crises strike in one region, like it has happened in Ukraine, the global supply of food can be derailed quickly, and it's going to be leading to high prices. And we are talking about the entire supply chain, the entire value chain. Transportation by sea is the vital part of the distribution of food. The war has made this more difficult than ever. It's very costly. When you look at the costs calculated for the transportation of food, you see that 80% of that cost is actually the cost of the logistics of the food. And today, we see that these costs are even increasing. For example, look at the insurance premiums has skyrocketed for vessels who are operating in the Black Sea, which this further increases the price of food, of course. So many countries are now turning to alternative sources. But there's also a cost increase there involved. Countries in Europe and Middle East are now who relied on the Russian and Ukrainian wheat, now are going to Canada or Australia. What does this mean? That means more expensive transportation costs because you're going further away. When you're going further away, you're going to be facing more use of the bunker. Bunker is very expensive. And then, of course, now we are not even thinking about the impact, the global environmental impact that is causing, which is also very devastating. And of course, this war is going on, it's dragging on, while it drags on, the record levels of food insecurity are expected to sharply rise. And in the 81 countries where the UN World Food Program, WFP, works, they say that the acute hunger is projected to increase by an additional 47 million, from 276 million to 323 million. That means 17% jump. That's a lot. More people are going to be really starving. Now, we have to ask ourselves, can we afford to continue and go about business as usual? Because we cannot really wait to invest in resources until the crises are going to hit our shores and borders. We really have to act now. War and its consequences, like food security, insecurity, and supply chain disruption, is no longer localized. The global community is deeply interwoven, and it's becoming more so. And therefore, a war in one corner is going to be escalating quickly to the other has global consequences. Now, I have worked all my life within the maritime industry, and all my professional life has been in there. One of the things I have always said is that if it was not for the shipping industry, half of the world would be starving to death, and the other half would be freezing to death. I think this Ukrainian war and the situation we are in right now proves to be exactly the case, to believe that. So the added surging cost for the shipping companies, which are trying to move products around the world, which are then these added prices are passed to the consumers. We have to make sure that to keep the trade open for food, fuel, fertilizers, and crucial to contain the rise of the prices. To prevent further disruption, we need to have WTO, for example, to use its power, its might, to reduce the barriers for companies, to restructure their supply chain for cargo carriers, to adjust their transport routes, which helps to ensure the goods can reach countries where there's a high demand for it. So today, you see companies there who are really ready to get involved. Even they are ready to take the risk of facing operation in a war zone. Perhaps perhaps the way forward would be to form a task force where these companies can have a central coordination where ship owners, ship operators, freight forwarders, liners, they can all participate to work together to improve the situation. I think politicians should look at the transportation of goods for the helping overcome the food crisis as a commercial activity, because it is a commercial activity. The food crisis is not only resolved by political actions, but also by facilitating the work of commercial transportation segments, and therefore the policymakers need to help with putting a mechanism in place where these players can take the risk to operate in a war zone. Maybe there should be some sort of a subsidy from government, maybe, for instance, covering the fuel surcharges or at the cost of it entirely, because these people are risking to go to the war zone to make sure that the food is secure. This will help the rates of transportation of food and material for the reconstruction to be significantly lower for the local governments that are receiving that or are providing this service. If this could be achieved, there would be a window to transport not only grain, but also construction material in bulk, in, let's say, cement, sand, steel rods, steel frames, concrete support for bridges, which is very badly needed right now for reconstruction, from all over the world. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we really need to do is to really take action and help start moving this into some sort of a ongoing activity. Why am I here now? You may ask yourself, what is an academician from the... Yes. What is an academician from Denmark has to do with this? The reason I'm here is that I have managed to train 300 executives all around the world who are willing to help. And these 300 executives are sitting in senior positions all around the world, work with this more formidable group of people who like to contribute. So we are ready to do that. The question is, are you? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rosberg.